this is where I'm camping for the next few days. Well, I claimed my spot. So it's 12:50 p.m. right now, and I already got my camp set up. But like just a couple minutes ago, I heard what sounded like a car door. So there is a group of us getting together, so I figured maybe someone decided to camp down here. So I just walked down here, and there's nobody here. I didn't hear a car drive in, drive out, but heard a single car door sound. Interesting. Yeah, so right now I'm the only one out here. Most of them aren't showing up till tomorrow, but I think 2 of the individuals are going to be here sometime later today. And Marshall and Bill and Aaron may show up out here, so yeah, beautiful weather. Doesn't look like there's any rain in the forecast. Super quiet out here. I think I'm just going to head back to camp and have a beer.
Well, I got an invite from my friend Will Ulmer to go up and do some camping. So I'm headed up to a place I've never camped before again, which is Gypsy Meadows. And this is going to be real exciting because this time I'm sleeping in my tent for a few nights. And this happens to be grizzly bear country. This is even more grizzly bear country than the places I've stayed before. I'm looking forward to this camp trip. We're going to stay about probably 2 nights, maybe 3 nights. Depends on what happens. And should be real exciting. The place where we're going to be camping, Sullivan Creek goes right by it, and this is getting way up at where the source of Sullivan Creek is. So should be pretty nice camping. But so I don't know if he's like already here and if I can find him and where he's gonna camp, or if I'm gonna have to just pick a spot and wait for him to show up. Check this out. This is the Gypsy Meadows where we're going to be camping. There's like a little meadow over there, and there's still snow up here. Will Ulmer's here. I can see his vehicle already.
So as Marshall set up camp, we just kind of hung out, had a nice cold beer together, and waited for our guests to arrive.
Oh.
One of you, Curtis and David?
I'm David, and you're Will.
Yeah.
How are you? Doing well. Thanks for coming up. It's good. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Marshall?
Yeah. Hope you don't mind me filming you two
Yeah.
meeting.
Nice to meet you,
Nice
Marshall.
to meet you.
I'm David.
Man. Nice to meet you, David.
So this is Curtis.
Hi, Curtis.
Hi there.
It's Will, Marshall.
I've seen your videos, both of you.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
Curtis Miller.
This is my wife, Candy.
Hi, Marshall.
Great to meet you, Curtis.
Nice to meet you.
You guys don't mind being filmed, do you?
No.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, I'm Candy.
Candy. I
Nice
am
to meet
Marshall.
you.
Nice to meet you.
This is nice.
Yeah. We were camped where.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
That's my
activity
wife, Terry.
came from
Curtis' wife, Terry.
up in there.
Hi.
And Will.
Well, I'm Terry.
This is Marshall.
Hi, Carrie. I'm Marshall.
Hi, Marcia.
It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Terry, his videos are the reason we came up here.
So you can blame
How
Will.
you today?
When did you guys get up here?
I got up here probably 4 or 5 hours ago.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
I think I got here an hour ago,
yeah, something
maybe. Yeah.
It's a cool.
I had to clear my schedule first. Oh.
There's a little bit of snow over there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that tells me it might be cold up here at night.
I saw 32 tonight.
Yeah?
Curtis wasn't believing Candy that she saw snow.
Like, I wouldn't lie about that.
How long have you been?
Well, within minutes of meeting each other, the story started coming.
That's cool.
And the next day he told us that that basically one may have been in the tree above him, and David, when he woke up, he thought that they were moving through that guy's camp. That's where it was. And next day we found there's a game trail maybe 50 feet in, so that's probably where it happened. And then came across this road, and right over here where the last horse post is, there's a little bit of meadow. David found where they kind of trampled down some grass and went up the ridge behind, these camps up to the road and somehow crossed the road. And we can take you later. There's a huge X, probably 75 yards behind
Yeah,
you.
before you get to the main road
But
up
their
here.
trail we think they took went right by this huge X. So
But that noise that started, from where you are, my tent was, there's a flat area behind the trees in that area. And so from there, I'm looking at that angle about, 45 degrees towards the creek. The hoots started over there. And it just moved, and it was moving fast. It was going like woo, woo, woo. And I think they got towards where this camp was, and all of a sudden there was just that rah 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 rah. Like they were angry. They were like mad talking to each other. They were like hacking. And then about that angle, it started hoots again, and then it just disappeared up and across the. It was around 2 o'clock at night.
So the next morning we went up there, found that X, and just across the road there's a tree break maybe 9 feet up, and that looks, and the grass up the ridge there was kind of trampled down too, so we think that they kind of went there, went up by the X where this tree break was, and kind of climbed up there somehow. But it all took, he heard that part, I was asleep. And in 20 seconds or 30 seconds it took for him to wake me up, and it had all gone. So they traveled from there to up the road in 30 seconds or less. Yeah.
It was fast. It was loud and fast.
So anyway, if you have a thermal pointer that way, that's
There's
if they're here and if they do the same thing.
in the woods back there. There's 2 pretty big game trails that go from the creek back through that woods there. And I picked up the track away from here. That's what we follow right there. But there's a nice trail out here. I think it's like a horse trail. It goes out this end, and then it goes up that direction. And it's nice walking over there. I found the 14-inch footprint that direction. And then where we found the other prints in the marsh was up on this ridge above your camp up in there and stuff. And there's a weather station, a little weather station up in there. Yeah. And that was the direction that we went up, and then we had heard the hoots on this side and was trying to follow we had thought was, when we first got here, it was like owl hoots. But then through the week we started thinking they sounded weird, and are they mimicking something? And then everything like that started happening. So we started thinking that these imitated owl hoots are what's happening. So we heard one like 30 feet up above where your camp was, where we were camping. And we started going up that direction. That's when we heard definite whoops, 3 whoops over here that were trying to distract us, I think. It's almost off where we were.
That's wild. What did we just hear up there?
Yeah.
Owl hoots.
That's what you're hearing, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not saying there weren't owls, but something changed in the owl, the hooting at the end. It sort of degenerated and became whoops instead of hoots. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey.
It's nice meeting you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Be
Yeah.
back
Join
once
the
we got-
campfire.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
What they said about the owls, because you said that's odd that the owl's going off in the middle of the day.
Yeah. But their thing occurred at night, though.
Yeah.
So. But we do know there's owls up there. We heard it. So.
But are they owls?
Well, it's nice to know that it happened right here
Yeah.
and not like down there.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sending you all this video. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I got to videotape Will and meeting some people that actually had a Sasquatch encounter up here. Of course, I'm not doing a video on it, but I'm going to give him the shots that I got of them meeting. And so I'm pretty excited for him. And then apparently Sahalish Sasquatch YouTube channel guys are going to show up on Friday. So that's going to be cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really looking anymore, but I love hanging out with these guys. They're all cool. So Will is over filming David and Curtis and their wives, and he's going to do some interviews. They came all the way up here from California because they saw some videos that Will Ulmer put together about, Sasquatch. So apparently they saw a few of my videos before I pulled down my channel. But it's really cool that they came all this way for camping and hopefully a Bigfoot experience. But he's going to interview each of the guys, get their full story, and interview the wives, because before they got here, Will was going, well, I wonder, you always wonder what the wives of men who are into the Sasquatch thing, what they think, but they're actually sound like they're kind of into it. So it's pretty cool.
That. And then we all went to bed, I don't know, about, 12:30 when we started hearing more again east of us, right? The first night. Like 12:30, and then again about 1:15 or 1:20. The second one was just loud. So he got it recorded.
The one that happened, I think, right after that was just, we matched it up to what Sarah reported the weekend. It was just a one hoot or...
But the next day, basically our first full day, is when we found the footprint. Oh, several footprints actually. So for me, that was like really cool. It was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. This is going to be a really good adventure. So, and then we went to a couple different places throughout the time we were there. In one, we went in and I did a whistle and got a response. And then I whistled again, got another response. Whistled a third time, got another response. So that was a lot of fun for me to experience that, because something was
Did I walk in front of the camera?
It's okay.
I'm
You
sorry.
can walk in front of it. So this is real life.
Oh yeah, that was
Really real life.
for me being like I'm kind of a believer, maybe, you know, you got to think logic through a lot of this stuff. But those things have, we saw an X, we saw a small little, like, what do you guys call it, a tree formation type with the sticks.
Yeah,
The
that tree.
limbs were like all shoved in the ground and up against a tree, and yeah, that was kind of, well, who's going to be out here and doing this? So that was very interesting. So yeah, I've kind of become more on my scale. I'm about a 90%er now. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of nights.
0 to 90 in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot. The
Curtis.
footprints were real. I mean, they're not, and to find 4 of them and all going in the same direction.
Curtis saw that tree formation. That was, I said, well, whenever they see something, I stop and I try to look at it and see if it means anything. But I get up there, and one of the main branches was, I go, why is it bigger at the top than the bottom? And it was upside down. And it was jammed in the ground about 3 or 4 inches. And then I looked at the big one, and it was jammed in the ground. Yep, you could move it. I'll show you the video. And you could see it moving. And there was no root ball or anything like that. And then so another one was jammed in there. So they're all leaned up on this thing. Then I started looking around there, and there's a game trail that comes right down and it takes a right-hand turn right around it. They're marking something, over there.
It was kind of like a lean-to, but it wasn't big enough
It's not
for
like
any. A TP lean-to, but
Yeah.
it wasn't big enough for anything
It was
to
only
be
about
underneath it.
6 feet tall, 7 feet tall there, but it was nothing to
But there was a good, what,
protect yourself.
there was probably 7 to 8 different limbs
Oh yeah.
going on there. It wasn't big enough for someone, I don't think, to actually get up underneath. But it was definitely different. In all my years of camping up in the woods, I saw anything like that. In California, I should say.
So tell me the story about how you guys decided that you're going to come all the way up here. Why?
So in 2022, David sort of, I realized he had an interest in Bigfoot. I didn't have much, maybe a little. We all seen, finding Bigfoot and expedition Bigfoot and stuff like that. And then 3 years before 2022, right before 2022, in 2021, Terry and I went to Nepal, and we were hiking Everest Base Camp, and about a third of the way up, our guide had been a Buddhist monk, and he sort of quit that to become a expedition guide, and he stopped in his hometown and asked us if we wanted to go to the local temple and watch a ceremony. So we did, and after the ceremony he said, "Do you want to see something special?" And he kind of walked us over to this box and unlocked it, and there was a skull of a Yeti and a hand of a Yeti, and the skull was probably this big, and the hand was this much longer than my fingers. You can see the bones. So that kind of piqued my interest, and then David called me and asked if we've sort of been getting together for a yearly guys trip, and he said, "Hey, you want to go on another guys trip?" And after that I said, "Why don't we go see if we can find Bigfoot?" So we sort of jokingly, obviously, we were planning on just going camping, and we went to California first in 2022.
That'll be mine.
And then we decided to come back or go somewhere last August, and we were telling Will that we wanted to go someplace different. We had some good experience in California, but we just wanted to go someplace different, and started looking at videos and saw your guys' videos, believe it or not, in Selkirk Mountain Sasquatch or Range, Selkirk Range Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And saw a video of Beans Baxter had come here just to camp, and he told a story on there. He didn't really have anything happen to him, so we decided this is sort of where we wanted to come.
Nice.
All the way from California.
Nice.
So that's basically the story in a nutshell.
Well, we even thought of going to Canada, and
We're almost there, but
yeah, we were almost 5 miles away, whatever. But and we're like, my issue was I didn't want to do you can't take handguns or anything up in there, so it was like, nah, let's go there. Alaska's too far, so let's do Oregon or Washington. And then that's when Kurt found your grass man and said, hey.
so yeah, we came up here fully expecting just to be camping for a week, or backpacking or whatever. And the second night, first day, David found a 14-inch footprint. If you go to the end of the meadow, there's a trail probably a quarter mile in. He found a footprint just in the bed of the forest, and it was one footprint. And it was weird. Why is there only one? But it David and I each wear 13s, and it was bigger than our boot. And so the next day we casted that, and then that night, so we were here the second night about 11:30. The owls started hooting across the creek, and they just wouldn't stop. Kind of went on and on and on. And then it seemed to degenerate into something else, and it started sounding like whoops. And I thought I was crazy at first, and then as soon as the whoops came, so that's sort of, was that west, northwest? Then off to the north and off to the east, something responded. And as soon as something responded, those stopped. So I was almost ready to wake up David, because we were in the camp that Will's in right now, and his tent was probably 20 feet from me, but as soon as I heard the whoops, basically 20 seconds later it was stopping, and kind of tried to go back to sleep, and then about an hour later the exact same thing happened. So now it's almost 1. Owl hooting from that direction again, and then it degenerated into whoops, and as soon as there were whoops, the calls came from the same area. And next thing I knew, David was waking me up about 2:30 in the morning, and he'd heard something even more remarkable.
Okay, so our guests have arrived, and they had an experience here last year, some strange vocalizations and something coming through their camp. So here's my setup for tonight. So I'm running audio underneath my car right here. We've already had some rain, so just going to protect it there. I'm also running a parabolic microphone. It's hooked up to a digital recorder, and it's going to be covering this whole meadow. So anything that vocalizes in that direction, I should capture it. And there, you can see that garbage bag right there. Yeah, I might as well just walk up to it. So this is my thermal camera. It's all ready to go. So once it gets dark, I'll turn it on. But it's going to be watching their campsite, because they said the vocalizations and whatever came through their camp came through the backside of that area. So we're going to watch that all night. I also have an audio recorder back in those trees up on the hillside to capture anything that moves around up there. Let's see, anything else? Marshall's got a game camera in his camp. I got the motion lights set up. They will be running audio as well, I'm sure. So I think we're ready.
It was kind of a blue light. He said it, I remember correctly, quoted, it was almost like a Tinkerbell, I think, or something. He described something like that, like a fairy, that it just danced and then was gone. And multiple people saw it. So. And that was all at their camp there in Central California or Northern California.
Did you hear something?
So at this moment we realized that Aaron had pulled in. Aaron is kind of like Batman. He likes to show up in the middle of the night and be very, very stealthy when he comes in. So we headed over to his campsite, which was across the road from Gypsy Meadows. So we headed into his camp.
Whoa. Oh, I just blinded myself. That was bad. So Aaron showed up, and naturally it's dark, and he's setting up his tent in the dark. And so we're headed back. He's going to come over and visit in a little bit. But that's pretty cool. He didn't come over and camp with us. He decided to get his own little spot.
What a snob. I may have heard a knock,
Really?
possibly. That direction. It was distant.
Yeah.
shrugged my shoulders and said, I don't know, just see what he would say. He said, well, it was really strange. They came from across the creek, ran right behind my camp.
Wow.
So I think they were in the behind the line of trees here. And he said, while they were running, they were barking. That's how he described it. And then he said, and I think at one point one of them was in the tree right above my tent. Now, that's how he described it. And he said, and then they kind of ran back across the little road that comes into the meadow here and up the ridge and across the main road. And I said, well, so you think it was dogs? He said, no, I guess they weren't dogs. That's the only way I could describe it. And so I said, well, can you imitate it? And he kind of did his best, and it sounded just like what David just did. So he basically confirmed what David had heard. So, and he said there was a pack of them, whatever they were.
There was at least, I was hearing at least 3 of them, you know, going, and it was like they're angry. It was like they were mad, you know. Like,
and you know, interesting thing about the 3, David said there were 3 voices. Things that we heard earlier, they start out as a hoot, or you know, the barred owls, you hear them hoot, 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 or however they do it. And it just kept going, and then maybe after a minute or so, it changed to a whoop. And I thought for a second, I'm hearing things, and it only did it a couple of times, and it was answered, like I said, off to the east and off to the north. So 2 things answered it, and there was one there, and then David hears 3 different distinct voices. So whether they're, you know, whether those were owls up there or something else, I don't know. And you know, the question is, were they mimicking owls, or were they using the owl hoot to then afterwards whoop and sort of camouflage? I don't know, but you know, it was just kind of a crazy night.
I just couldn't believe how fast they were moving. I mean,
Yeah.
the
So there was a
motion was
burn
like,
ban.
When was this? What time of year?
It was
August.
End of August.
Okay.
There was a burn ban, so nobody had, you know, a fire.
Fires, okay.
It was. I've looked it up since then. It was less than a quarter of a moon, and it was at 2:30 in the morning. And so whatever traveled from across the creek. The guy who was camping here said it came from across the creek, behind his camp, up that ridge there, and across the river. And then up into the hill up on the other side. All in about 30 seconds.
with no light, you know. And it wasn't like up high, it was like level, you know. Like, I thought it was right in their camp, which I think it was. The only thing I could think about it being in a tree is that if something was 10 foot tall, it would be above their tent.
Yeah, so maybe it just seemed like that.
I don't know, but that was very loud. And then the next thing that happened the next night was
Well, and we didn't have our recorders out,
we were rookies.
We weren't prepared.
We hadn't followed Will's or we hadn't heard Will's advice yet.
We've watched his videos, but not studied them well enough.
Well, we made the same mistake.
Yeah.
So the second night, we after that we definitely put a recorder on this sign over here for sure, and then we're down there, and Kurt had heard some hoots and stuff. You know, the same thing they started on this side. We eventually respond there, but about 1:30 or 2, like that, you know, all of a sudden I'm woken up with this tremendously loud. It sounded like, you know, if you put a barred owl on a speaker. I mean, it was loud, and it was like 10 yards from my tent. It was like from here to my truck. Like if you look at Will's flagpole, I thought it was standing right by the flagpole. It's a pole for horses, you know, and it's just like that far away. And I'm like, it just struck up, and whoa, and it's loud. And I was going, do I get out of my tent right now, or do I stay here? Do I turn on the light? What do I do? And I had my phone ready to record, And I turned that on, and by that time, it had moved across the meadow and was what I estimated was right next to the tree line, straight across, which is about 50 yards or so. And did it again. But it was extremely loud, and that was. I can't imagine that an owl would have that much volume for that much air for what that sounded like. Curtis recorded it here, which was 100 yards away, and it's still loud. I mean, he can play it for you, but it was from 100 yards away. It was very loud still. And I was like, I know I got my 44, but do I get out when I look at this thing?
Later in the week, David found 16 to 15.5-inch prints in mud up on the ridge, and they had 48 to 50-inch step length. Where? Just right between the road into the meadow and the main road. So
okay.
in that 75 yards. Wow. There was a little marshy area up there, and
I'll show it to you.
he found 4 prints. 2 of them were kind of in mud. The other 2 were behind it in
before I lose it.
2 or 3 inches of water. And
Oh wow!
the ones that were in the water, the water was covered with pine needles. But those 2 areas, there were no pine needles in those 2 feet. So you think it would have to be relatively recent.
Yeah.
Done before we saw them. Otherwise, the pine needles would have kind of floated back in. He was camped just beyond the bathroom.
Yeah.
And one morning we walked down there, and we walked past his trailer, and when we came back, he thought he had seen a Bigfoot walk between the.
Wow.
That was, so that's 16 and a half inches, and the step length was 48 to 50 inches.
There and there.
And then you could go back, and we went back the same distance backward. This looks like something was standing, watching. You can see 2 in the grass there. And then, but we went back further in the same step length, and you could track it, like you were saying, through the water where it displaced the pine needles on there. And then 100 yards further was the one that was on a swing cloud. You could see the toes. It still measured the same 16.
So we never saw anything, but we heard all that, and the guy down the trailer thinks one morning he saw a Bigfoot walk from the creek area to across the road, sort of where that Thunder Creek
trailhead?
Yeah. They walked basically up to that trail.
Okay.
So after these guys went through here, we started, like you said, to come back, and I was looking for tracks in the meadow on that site, and come back and start following it for the game trail, and go and start going up the game trail, and we end up right next to that.
Oh wow.
So that is still there. We saw it tonight. It's
still up
probably
there.
10 yards this side of the main road out there.
And the crazy thing is that you go up there, the one going from right to left or up, I don't know how it got between these 2 trees, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of wedged in there.
It's like put in there.
Were they just owls? And it might have been just owls. So
Yeah,
we don't know
it
if
can
we
make
really,
a lot of different noises.
we really don't know if we heard anything or not when we were there.
These are the tracks we found there. So we're walking along, there's 3 of them, and the stride between the second and the third is about 48 inches, and the comparison to my foot, look how big they are.
Oh yeah.
So we're walking along the trail there, and it's the one that goes in the wilderness. So we had game cameras up there. We know there's no one coming in. We saw one guy come in one day, and he went out the next, and we saw him both times. We knew where he was. And we're just walking on the trail, and about 30 yards away, I could see wetness through the brush. And I said, hey, I want to go check out that track trap. You can go look at it and check it out. And we expect to see like deer or whatever going over there. We walk over there, and there's a pool-sized area it's dry on this side and it's dry on that side. You didn't have to go through it. but we walked over there and those steps were going right through the middle of it. And it's saying, why would anyone walk through that area? And there was no like slippage or anything like that. You know, like if someone's trying to run and make that stride length, you think if you hit mud, you're going to see this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a 1 step, 2 step, and then the 3rd step was the big one. And then there was no step. You know, they had to step out of the mud in order to get out. And that was about 4 feet to get out of that. And then we were excited at that time. We go back the next day, and that middle one in the middle of the marsh was disappeared. It had been reabsorbed by the marsh. So that told us that it was like recent that had happened.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours of that.
Oh yeah, because it would have been absorbed sooner.
Correct. Yeah. So that was exciting.
That's
finding.
awesome. Well, boy, you know how to pick good spots. How did you pick this one? Oh,
His videos, basically.
were you telling stories from people's experiences?
No,
Well, we didn't
just pick Sullivan
didn't
Creek and then
no.
Yeah, we knew he had a lot of experience, and other people too, but had experiences along Sullivan Creek, and we picked this because it's sort of the most remote place you can camp without being in the wilderness.
Yeah.
You know, and still have water and be assured of water. So we basically.
We want to go somewhere different, Oregon or Washington. We decided. And Curtis had started watching a lot of videos and stuff, and started watching a lot of wills. So that he had called me up and said, "Hey, let's go up to Sullivan Creek." And he actually called the ranger station, talked to them.
Wow.
You know what it's like, and the ranger suggested Gypsy Meadows.
Did you guys ask about Bigfoot?
Did not.
Okay.
Did not. I just said we're interested in camping, but we want to be as remote as possible with a good water source if we needed water. And the ranger said, Gypsy Meadows. He said you can go into the Salmo Priest wilderness, but water's not as, at least in August, was not as readily available. And so he suggested Gypsy Meadows. So that's why we came here. And then we found a few videos of people who had been here and had experiences.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's one that they've had an experience. The other videos were, Beans Baxter from Alaska. He had come to the festival here a few years ago, and he just came up here to look.
Yeah.
And he told of 2 stories that he had heard of people who had camped here and had rocks thrown at him and stuff.
Okay.
So
heard those same stories.
All those basically things and Will's videos around Sullivan Creek, we came up here. So that's sort of why we chose it.
Oh, that's incredible.
Thank you. No, thanks, Will.
Hey, no problem.